Child ghost roaming around. At 12:54 AM on August the 18th, 2019, this next video was captured by a home security camera, and later the footage was uploaded to YouTube by the homeowner, Joel Nolan, and it's fair to say it's caused a bit of a stir. The footage shows a normal-looking living area with a cat sitting contentedly in the middle of the room. Then to the side appears a translucent object that appears to be walking up and down, and on closer inspection it does resemble a figure. Take a look. Now, there are a few explanations for this phenomena. It could be a passing car's headlights making a strange reflection. It could be an insect of some description catching a light, or even dust particles. What we do find strange is that the cat appears not to notice, something that is unusual if it was paranormal. However, that hasn't stopped people believing it's the ghost of a child. Some believe a little boy, possibly with a second apparition of his pet dog, and the video has gone somewhat viral in the UK. What do you make of it? Chilling message heard on doorbell camera. With so many security gadgets nowadays, it's possible to monitor activity inside and outside of your home at any time. Obviously this is a good thing, or is it? Every now and then, one of these security devices records something that creeps you right out, and rather than making you feel more secure in your home, suddenly it seems like your home is under attack from some unknown sinister force. This was the case for one homeowner who had a doorbell camera fitted to their home. They woke up one morning to a notification to say their doorbell had been rung at 3 AM, and for them to review the footage. Although they were at home at the time, they didn't hear the doorbell. However, they were shocked when they reviewed the footage and heard what sounds like an ominous warning. Take a listen. Can you hear a creepy voice saying, "I'll kill you"? Here it is again in case you missed it. Now, is that a dog barking, the wind, or is it really someone threatening the homeowners? After all, who rings the doorbell at 3 AM in the morning and then disappears? The family have been left so terrified by the threat that friends have prayed over their home, burned sage, and advised them to move house. They have even stopped reviewing any motion-activated footage on their home security for fear of what they might see or hear. What do you make of it? Creepy white figure. This next footage is pretty creepy, although we can find very little information on it. It's from CCTV footage of a residential street and shows a person, possibly a woman, walking towards a row of parked cars in the early hours of the morning. But she is not alone, because emerging from between the parked cars, a much smaller, creepy-looking white figure appears and walks in the opposite direction. Take a look. It's hard to know if the woman is aware of the figure, but we would love some more information on this clip, so if anyone knows anything, please let us know. Shambles Tavern Ghost. The Shambles in York, UK is a narrow cobbled street that is lined with tiny buildings that date back to the 1300s. For centuries it was a street full of butcher shops and houses, and was an altogether unsanitary place where animal blood and offal washed down the sloping streets. Nowadays not one butcher's shop remains, and the street is now a visitor attraction, with quaint little shops and eating places. One of which is the Shambles Tavern, where bar supervisor Luke Smithson got the shock of his life one morning. After arriving early to clean the beer lines, this is what happened. Now our first thoughts were it must have been a gust of wind, but Luke is adamant there were no doors or windows open, and the force of whatever it was even knocked a speaker off one of the shelves, along with a couple of glasses. There was also no possibility of a third party involved, as he said he was alone in the pub at the time. You also might wonder why Luke appeared unfazed by the incident. However, he explained the reason behind this is that he is convinced the place is haunted. and he and other staff are used to all manner of mysterious bumps and footsteps, and psychics who have even visited the place have sensed a presence. Luke believes the spirit of a butcher and his family who formerly lived in the building is to blame, although he does admit this is the first time he has seen firsthand the full force of whatever still lingers there. What do you make of the footage? Guitar Shop Ghost. This footage is a double event. It was captured on a security camera in a guitar shop in Brighton, England. The first incident was on the 3rd of May 2019 and happened in broad daylight. It shows a customer on his phone waiting to be served when an eerie, white, misty figure moves towards him. Then, as he is being served near the counter, the mist can be seen again. Take a look. Now possibly, that could be explained away as nothing, however the next incident is not so easily to dismiss. This was captured in the early hours of the morning of June the 5th, 2019, when the shop was empty. Firstly, this happens. Then half an hour later, this happens. The thing flying from the Fender guitar is the price tag. The cameras in the shop were triggered by the movement, and that prompted the shop owner to review the footage. It's been suggested that it could be the guitars readjusting themselves after they were hung incorrectly, but that seems relatively unlikely as there was no wind or ventilation nearby. We're pretty sure this is a genuine video and find it especially creepy, considering Brighton is voted as one of the most haunted towns in the UK. What do you think of the footage? The Ohio State Reformatory. The field where the Reformatory was to be built began life as a Civil War training camp in 1861. Then the city of Mansfield managed to raise $10,000 to build the Reformatory, which was to house young prisoners who were first-time offenders, also known as Mansfield Prison. It has become famous by starring in several films, TV shows, and music videos. Its most famous appearance was in Shawshank Redemption, when it was used as a set for most of the filming. It was closed as a prison in 1990, but is now a tourist attraction and open to the public. The East Cell block stands 6 tiers high, making it the biggest freestanding steel cell block in the world. Here, in the freezing cold winters, some inmates on the 6th floor actually froze to death, and in the summers, some died from heat stroke, many hugging their toilet bowls in an attempt to stay cool. In November of 1950, Helen, the wife of the then warden, Glatke, was reaching for her jewellery box when she accidentally discharged a handgun and shot herself. She died of pneumonia 3 days later. Many visitors and employees have been startled by a cold rush of air that has surprised them and a heady smell of roses as they enter Helen's pink bathroom in the administration wing. Later, with an ever-growing prison population, the authorities had no choice but to send hardened criminals to the prison. The guards now turned to harsh punishments. They used the butterfly, a brutal form of electric torture, a sweatbox for black and Hispanic prisoners, and the hole, a cell for solitary confinement. Guidelines stated that no one should be left for longer than 5 hours in this windowless, damp, dark cell. But inmates have reported that many prisoners were left there for up to 30 days at a time, causing some to go mad and others to commit suicide. One prisoner who could not stand to continue his 15-year sentence was James Lockhart, who stole turpentine from the prison workshop, went back to his cell, doused himself with the liquid, and then set himself on fire. As the guards dragged him along the infirmary, chunks of his body peeled off. As if the punishments were not enough, there was always the constant threat of violence from other inmates. The inedible food, plagues of rats, and the risk of contracting some form of infectious disease. Is it any wonder that rumours of hauntings have been going on for years? In 2015, a ghost tour was being conducted at the Reformatory when the participants encountered a scary entity. The chair room is a small windowless room that has seen lots of unexplained activity over the years. A lone chair sits in the centre of the room, and it's thought that a dark spirit takes a dislike to anyone who sits in the chair. One participant threatened to drag the chair out and chop it up, when suddenly he felt someone or something push him on the back. Take a look at the footage.
I think you just gotta be one step ahead of him, you know?
Jesus.
What?
You alright?
Someone just pushed me.
What? You kidding me?
No.
Hey, you get bent out of shape. He shoved me before. I don't care.
It just felt like someone just going like that.
Yeah. I said push the chair, not him.
Holy cow. It feels like my back's burning.
Really?
Yeah, right where it pushed me.
That's what happened to Goldberg's wife. You know, if you heard me tell that story, but she had 4 scratch marks down her back.
You're kidding me.
Somebody raked her nails down her back.
Yeah, check your scratch.
Yeah, let me see your back then. Come here.
Yeah, it feels like it's burning.
Alright, let me see. Oh my god! Are you f***ing kidding me?
You're kidding.
Oh, we are not.
Greg, that is...
So what do you make of that? A violent spirit or just an elaborate hoax? Port Arthur, Tasmania. Between the years of 1788 and 1868, over 160,000 criminals were sent from Britain to Australia as a form of punishment. Some of these criminals were as young as 9 years old. One of the places they were sent to was Port Arthur on the island state of Tasmania, just off Australia's south coast. The site of the prison was geographically secure, as it was surrounded by shark-infested water, the only connection to the mainland being a 30-yard wide strip of land. There were also armed officers, starving dogs, and man-traps to further safeguard from any escape attempts. Port Arthur had the strictest security methods in the British penal system, because it was where the toughest convicted criminals were sent. But the prisoners were not always tortured or subjected to physical punishments, because it was thought that that sort of treatment only made the criminals more difficult to manage. Instead, psychological punishments were used, such as restricting of food. Larger servings and luxury items such as tea and tobacco were given as a reward for good behaviour, while just minimum portions of bread and water were given as a punishment. Other punishment included housing prisoners in a separate building, placing them in isolated masks, and forcing them to stay silent. Unfortunately, many of these convicts developed mental health problems, so an asylum was built right next to the prison. One visitor tells of an unnerving story of her visit to Port Arthur, which is now a World Heritage Site. She was accompanied by a 7-year-old son, and he ran about the gardens and buildings quite happily. But as they reached the house that was once the parsonage, his mood changed dramatically. He began to become upset and started to cry, clenching his fists in anger, and repeating, "I'm just angry," over and over again. The tour continued, but as the separate prison building was reached, the boy began to walk around in circles and disturbingly began to growl. His mother picked him up and tried to calm him with a hug, but he screamed, "I'm trying to keep the mad out." Spooked, the couple decided to leave. As soon as the family stepped outside of the visitor centre, the boy let out a huge sigh of relief, smiled, and turned to his mother and said, "I feel fine now. All of the mad has gone away." He had been pacing on the spot of an inhumane solitary punishment cell, where the most wicked of inmates had been kept. In 1996, 28-year-old Martin Byrant went on a killing spree at the site using semi-automatic shotguns and rifles. He murdered 35 people and wounded another 23. He was captured by Special Ops and is detained in Risdon Prison's psychiatric unit. He was sentenced to 35 life sentences, plus an extra 1,035 years. Is it any wonder that so many people feel such powerful energy when walking around the site, when you consider how many poor souls have lived and died there? HMP Shepton Mallet, Somerset. Her Majesty's Prison Shepton Mallet opened sometime before the year 1625 during the reign of King James I of England. It was used for all types of offenders, men, women and children. Conditions inside were reported to be dreadful, and the number of executions that took place there before the late 19th century is unknown. A tread wheel was installed so that those sentenced to hard labour could spend their hours walking around and around on a never-ending march. In 1939, at the start of the Second World War, Shepton was used to house both English and American military prisoners. It was also used to keep important historical documents safe away from the bombs of London, such as the Doomsday Book and the logbooks from HMS Victory. The infamous London gangsters Ronnie and Reggie Cray served time there in the early 1950s. Between the years 1942 and 1945, 18 US soldiers were hanged at Shepton. One of these soldiers was Private Lee Davis, who was condemned to death for the murder of Cynthia Ray and the rape of her friend Muriel Forder in 1943, despite a lack of evidence. Now, Paul Toole, a tour guide at the prison, is so afraid after his scary encounter that he will only lock up the building when accompanied by another guide. Paul was standing in the execution chamber and telling stories to a tour group when he felt a searing pain on the back of his hand, which he later realised was a cigarette burn. The story he was telling was that of chain-smoking Davis, who pleaded his innocence to the end. In 1991, the prison began to house Category C life prisoners, but has been plagued with ghost visitation since the 1970s, when a young lady died within the prison walls after she was convicted of murdering her fiancé. Her white figure has been seen many times wandering the corridors, causing the lights to flicker on and off, and leaving icy cold drafts in her wake. Andersonville Prison in Georgia. Camp Sumter was also known as Andersonville Prison. The prison was made in early 1864 to house Union POWs during the last 14 months of the American Civil War. The prison site was controlled by Captain Henry Wirz of the Confederate Army. He was tried and executed for war crimes after the war had ended. The site initially covered over 16 acres of land and was later expanded to over 26 acres. But even this was not enough, as there were 4 times as many prisoners there than the site could hold. The perimeter of the camp was surrounded by a 15-foot stockade. The conditions were appalling and unsanitary, with no adequate water supply and insufficient food rations. The men suffered terribly from scurvy, lice and thirst. Of the 45,000 Union soldiers held at Camp Sumter during the Civil War, over 13,000 of them died mainly from scurvy, starvation and dehydration. Some of the men that did survive were so malnourished that they were walking skeletons. Visitors can now walk around the site of Camp Sumter, which has been marked out with double rows of white posts, as it's now part of the Andersonville National Historical Site. The burial site has been made a national cemetery, and visitors can pay their respects at the 13,714 graves there, 921 of which are unmarked. A place that has been exposed to all that suffering and death is always going to be a hotspot for the paranormal. Much of this activity is sensory, and it's not unusual for visitors to hear the echoes of gunfire during the night, as well as the sad whimpering of dying men and the loud cries of shock and horror. Some experience a stench that is overwhelmingly foul, and suffer mentally from feelings of fear and terror. A sinister fog has also been reported coming down and enveloping the prison site, and the shapes of soldiers can be distinctively seen walking aimlessly around in the mist. One set of ghost hunters spent a particularly active night at the prison site. It began when the batteries drained out of all of their equipment. Then they heard the voices of a large group of men talking, but no one was there. Suddenly a voice shouted, "Who goes there?" at them from the darkness. Sure enough, the fog descended, and through the mist they were able to make out a campfire and saw the shadow figures of men moving around in the dark. One of the main investigators awoke back at his hotel room and was startled to see a Confederate soldier standing in the corner of his room staring at him. The soldier then turned and disappeared through the closed room door. Bodman Jail, Cornwall, England. Just on the edge of the granite moorlands of Bodman Moor in Cornwall lies the former prison that was once Bodman Jail. The prison was built in 1779 for the then King George III and was used to capture prisoners of war. It consisted of 3 buildings: a debtors' prison, a house of correction for minor crimes, and a county jail for the more serious felons. Executions took place at the main gate of the prison until 1856, but after it became law that executions must take place privately, a new execution shed and a 15-foot hanging pit were built. 55 executions took place at Bodmin, and 51 of these would have been open to the public, who would have travelled for miles to watch the spectacle. Bodmin Jail was closed in the 1920s, and most of the jail has fallen into ruin, but visitors can tour the remaining buildings which have been restored. We can hold a private investigation there if you would all love to see that. In 2017, Tony Ferguson was visiting the prison with his wife. Just near to the execution pit, they set down their camera and were lucky enough to capture some footage of what looks like a ghost. The sinister figure is dressed in black and appears to have a white face as it walks across the end of the corridor. Take a look. Mellow Bird's Poltergeist. In November of 2019, a classic Poltergeist YouTube channel, Mellow Bird, who has been uploading videos for years, all featuring the same thing, a poltergeist within his supposedly haunted home. Now, we've been following Mellow Bird for many years, featuring his alleged activity in one of our very first ghost videos. While this particular footage was filmed at his home in the UK, and features 2 separate clips, both taking place in Mellow Bird's kitchen. The video begins with a drawer and 2 cupboard doors opening, seemingly by themselves, followed by a second video, which again shows a drawer opening, which looks full and relatively heavy. Then a GoPro over on the counter starts moving by itself. Take a look. Now, what gets us about all of Mellow Bird's videos, and this by no means suggests he does have a real poltergeist destroying his house, is the fact he's been doing this for 10 years, and all his content is pretty much the same thing happening. Almost all of his content could be done using string and other methods. However, would he really keep this up for all these years, setting everything up, usually in his kitchen, to break plates and destroy kitchen utensils, just to fake YouTube videos? He's also kept going despite many people trying to disprove his ghostly activity, and doesn't get a ton of views, so there can't be much of a monetary gain for all this. Again, we're not saying it's real. Almost all ghost videos can be faked in today's day and age, which makes it incredibly hard to find decent, genuine footage, but that doesn't always mean they are faked. Mellow birds have always been interesting, and these two are no different. What do you think? Another hoax, or real poltergeist activity caught on camera? Kitchen poltergeist. We're back in the kitchen again for this one, and when you take a closer look, this alleged poltergeist video is pretty damn strange. There is no information on this one, apart from the fact we know it was uploaded to Reddit on November 2019, and that it was filmed in the US. Take a look, and then we'll look into this one, because there are some details that make this especially creepy. The dead giveaways of fakes usually start with the camera position. It's always a question of why is the camera set up to film a random kitchen or doorway. However, if you've been experiencing strange things in your home in that particular area, and then decide to set up the camera to see if you can capture the paranormal activity firsthand, then it makes perfect sense. Again, we're not saying this is fake, it very well could be, but the camera position isn't something we can use to disprove this one. The main focus of this video is that toaster. And here's the creepy part, it's not even plugged in. The toaster glowing could be done using a light inside, however once it hits the floor, there is a clear spark or ember coming from it, suggesting it was the toaster coils that were heating up. Again, this could be done using a battery-powered coil, but that's a lot of effort to fake a video that doesn't even seem comes with much information or any attempt to make it go viral. As always, we're not saying this is a real ghost activity caught on camera, as we never do, but it's pretty strange. What do you think of it? Waitress gets hair pulled by poltergeist. This next poltergeist clip, there is very little information on, but good job this one speaks for itself. We are sure it was filmed quite a while back, judging by the quality of the CCTV camera, but cannot be 100% sure. Take a look at this. Pretty disturbing. It really looks like there is a shadow of some sort in the bottom right corner just before her hair gets pulled. The mop could easily be done using string, and the hair pull could be done using masking effects. And with zero information to go on this one, we're not sure what to make of it, but it's pretty creepy because that is a violent hair pull. What's your theories? Poltergeist in the school. Uploaded to Reddit in 2019, this footage may not look like much, but when you hear the story behind it and look into the details, you realise it's not always the high activity videos that are the scariest. As oftentimes, if ghosts are real, they would only do subtle things to let you know they're there, which is exactly what happens in this next clip. It was shared by a dental student and shows a video their teacher took of a cupboard door opening with no reason for doing so. Take a look.
I'm excited. It's scary.
Go open that cupboard. Take some force. So,
That's crazy.
I got a scary story. Go open that cupboard. Take some force. So,
That's crazy.
I got a scary.
It seems simple, but here is the story. Apparently the teacher came into the room and found all of the cupboard doors open one morning. The teacher told the students that very strange things have happened inside the building in the past. One time whilst developing X-ray photos in a dark room, the teacher felt something grab his leg. He shouted out to his students to stop messing around, thinking one of them had snuck in. But when the film was suitably developed, he flicked on the lights, only to find an empty room. He decided to look at the camera footage for that room to see if he could spot anything, and apparently saw a light float from the ground up to his leg and then disappear. The teacher didn't know how to save the footage, so he cannot confirm if this actually happened. Going back to the cupboard footage, apparently the time this cupboard door was caught opening on camera was the exact time the teacher's friend passed away sometime before. Now, without seeing the timestamp or the death certificate, we cannot confirm this, but the student says his teacher is not the type to lie about something like this. From our point of view, we don't think the teacher is faking this. Perhaps one of his students is sneaking in and setting this up to scare him, which is very plausible, but we'd like to hear your thoughts on this one. What do you think? Flashlight. Uploaded to the internet in early 2019, this, whilst not your typical noisy poltergeist, since a poltergeist can be defined as a ghost that is able to manipulate the physical environment. And since a flashlight seemingly turns on by itself, we thought we would share this one. The poster said that his father, who passed away just a month before this was captured, loved flashlights. While sleeping in a room across the hallway, the man was awoken at 6 AM to a flashlight turning itself on that was sitting on the kitchen worktop. Take a look. Pretty weird. Also notice the strange light that can be seen in the door leaning up against the wall on the right, just before the flashlight turns on. The poster said this door was taken off an old shrimp boat that sank, and we have no idea what that light was. It doesn't seem like a car headlight or anything similar, since nothing else in the room seems to light up at that moment. What do you think? Was this the person's father letting his presence known to his son? A hoax, or was it a complete coincidence that the light turned on not long after his father, who loved flashlights, passed away? What's your thoughts? We have a bonus clip for you now. We came across this video a while back and we're not entirely sure what to make of it. The video shows two young girls sat down before one of them sees something in the room behind that isn't viewable on the camera, and what happens next is strange. Be warned, the girl does scream pretty loud, so watch out for that if you have your volume high or headphones on.
I've cheating.
When I said give me the fries.
Yeah. What?
I'm scared. It's okay.
I just turned off the lights, that's all. What was that?
I'm scared.
What are you doing? Oh, what, honey? Look at me. What are you scared of? The fish? Oh, the fish died.
What?
Angel's sleeping already. It's raining, girls. Nothing, Nani, are you almost done eating? Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Turn around. Turn around. Turn around. But you gotta listen to me. Turn around. Look at me. What's the matter?
Now we can't make out if there is a window in that room behind, so perhaps someone is playing a trick on the girls to scare them with a mask or something. Or maybe they did see something unexplained. They do say animals and children are heightened to the paranormal. But what we find really unconvincing about this one is the fact the lady who is recording would be recording in this moment, which is very suspicious. So we're not sure if this was just a prank being pulled on those two girls, who we can be 100% sure were not in on it, judging by their reactions. What do you think of this one? The Morse Mill Hotel. The Morse Mill Hotel is located just west of St. Louis, near the small town of Hillsborough, Missouri. It was originally built in 1816 as a one-room house, then later expanded to its current size by its namesake, John Morse. For many years, Morse, who was an engineer, lived in the house with his family, but since then it has had many owners and uses, including a hospital for Confederate prisoners of war, a hotel, a speakeasy, and even a brothel. It is also believed to have been a stop on the Underground Railroad, so it's seen a fair bit of history over the years, and many famous people are known to have frequented the place, including Frank Dalton, who claimed to be Jesse James, Al Capone, and Charlie Chaplin. However, it's best known as being the home and workplace of America's first known female serial killer, Bertha Gifford, who is believed to have poisoned numerous children and adults with her arsenic-laced chocolates. She was eventually arrested for murder, but found not guilty due to insanity, and she spent the rest of her life in a mental hospital. Her grave is in a small cemetery down the road from the hotel. It's believed her husband, who she poisoned, haunts the hotel, and guests have reported seeing him in a flowing trench coat, looking out of a window on the second floor. But he is not the only ghost at the hotel. Guests and paranormal investigators have reported an array of paranormal activity. Many have seen a large shadowy figure in the hallways, thought to be the ghost of John Morse, and ghost hunters frequently experience equipment malfunctions in certain rooms and items moving around. While with all this activity at the Morse Hotel, we were interested when we found this video recording by a ghost hunting group called Soul Searching. They captured the EVPs after an overnight investigation at the hotel. Take a listen.
Do you like the toys I brought? Do you like the toys I brought? Do you like the toys I brought? Are you alone?
Pretty strange. Over the years, many people have been scratched by an unknown force and slapped by unseen hands. Faces have also been seen in mirrors, and guests have reported hot and cold spots all around the hotel, as well as air being blown in their face. What do you make of the recording? We're always very wary of EVPs, as they can be incredibly hard to make out, but you can definitely hear some voices in those recordings. Whether or not they are paranormal, we'll leave that for you to decide. In April of 2007, as part of the Will County Ghost Hunter Society, Anthony and the team conducted an investigation at a property in Sanwich, Illinois. The homeowner had been experiencing activity in the house for many years, from orbs and voices to actually seeing entities. While the team gathered some incredible EVP evidence that backs up the homeowner's previous claims of activity, there are 2 EVPs in question that we will listen to. The first was recorded in the master bedroom after an EMF reader spiked from 0.1 to 3. The second EVP was recorded in the garage where the homeowner's son committed suicide a few years prior. Take a listen.
She's somewhere here. She's somewhere here. She's somewhere here.
My aunt's fancy suffered that much.
I'm not saying it can't be done, I'm just saying if I was going to do it that way, I'd probably drop you the ball.
Right.
Plus, you know, it's easier for somebody to find you too. Maybe there's one from them. It's easier for somebody to find you too. Maybe there's one from them.
When they revealed the evidence to the family, the mother responded, "That's my son's voice, I'm 100% sure," and the father walked out in tears. As the recording was heard amongst his old friends, they all said that sounded just like him. But there is more to this investigation. On Saturday, July 21st, 2007, the team conducted a follow-up investigation, and although they didn't catch any more EVPs, they caught a very compelling image that we couldn't miss out with this story. The team set up a TV to play white noise, and a number of video cameras were set to record the TV, whereby numerous still photographs were taken. Upon reviewing the photographs, an image was found on one of them. After analysis and cleaning up the image, a face can clearly be seen. When this image was shown to the family, they confirmed the image in the photograph is that of their son who took his own life. Interesting. We are not getting any vibes that this is a hoax, and the team compiled a very detailed report, which we received regarding their investigation. This of course doesn't mean it's paranormal, but it's definitely one of the more convincing stories we've seen in a while. What's your thoughts and theories on this one? A couple from the town of Ammanford in Carmarthenshire, Wales, was so terrified by the chilling sounds coming from inside their home that they fled the building and called the police. Ian and Christine Tate first started hearing the noises in June 2018, and they got so bad that eventually they moved out and now live in a camper van. The pair heard odd flushing noises, children screaming, and mysterious mechanical sounds, and resorted to leaving their phones recording in different parts of the house to try and figure out where the noises were coming from. Take a listen. The couple believe the noise could be from the criminal activities happening in a secret tunnel beneath their home, such as human trafficking, and are convinced that people are living under their house. However, after police visited the house and carried out an investigation, they found nothing and had no explanation for the chilling sounds. The couple are insisting that the noises need a proper investigation, and have been handing out flyers across the UK about the noises in the hope that petition might prompt police to probe further. What's your thoughts on this one? Framboise Island. Framboise Island is located on the Missouri River near the city of Pierre, South Dakota. The area is a nature area with 7 to 10 miles of trails, and it's popular with not only hikers but also ghost hunters, both of which have reported hearing disembodied voices and footsteps during their visits. as well as unexplained orbs manifesting on their photographs. These occurrences have earned the island the reputation as one of the most haunted places in South Dakota. The reports of paranormal activity are varied and date back to 1804, when Lewis and Clark led the first American expedition to cross the western portion of the United States. But the most common story is that of a young child in great distress who appears at dusk near the river, and those who have followed the child to try and help have found themselves drawn deeper and deeper into the forested part of the island before the child disappears, leaving them lost. This next clip, posted on Reddit by YouTuber Local Legends Burton Moran, is incredibly interesting. You may need to put some headphones on to hear this one, but there is definitely something there. Take a listen.
You heard somebody, right?
I've been hearing it for the last
Yeah,
little bit.
I definitely heard somebody. Like over there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just happened to have to be on the same time as they're doing that. Hello? You heard that, right? There's definitely something there. I heard something. Hello?
It's worth pointing out the location of the island means that when the wind is blowing in the right direction, it's possible that what hikers are hearing are the sounds of Pierre City. However, despite this, with all the paranormal activity associated with the island, what's your thoughts? There are a number of different things we can hear, from people talking and screaming. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. This next one is fairly old, but we believe it's one of the best EVPs we've ever heard from a ghost hunting series. It's featured in the very first episode of the first season of Ghost Hunters in 2014. Now we know that Jason and Grant, who founded the Atlantic Paranormal Society, are not exactly the most credible people in the world when it comes to ghost hunting, as they have been caught faking things on numerous occasions. But this audio recording is still pretty creepy. The pair were called to investigate a house in Altuna, Pennsylvania. The house was built in the 1920s and was owned by Brenda. She had lived there with her family since 2000. But since moving in, Brenda always had the feeling that they weren't the only ones living there, and that they were being watched by an unknown presence. She believed the house was haunted by at least 4 spirits, an older male and female, and 2 children, possibly called Katie and Eddie. After arriving, Jason and Grant met Brenda to discuss her house's paranormal activity, and she went through the list of strange occurrences. These included instances when Brenda's 3-year-old daughter was seen fighting tug-of-war style with an unseen entity. Also, one night, when Brenda was sleeping with her daughter, the little girl cried at her mother to help a hurt little boy named Eddie. On another night, when Brenda was drifting off to sleep, she saw something that said "get out." There was also activity in the attic that seemed to be centered on a threatening older man. The team arranged to set up recording devices in the girl's bedroom and in the attic, and agree on getting someone in to bless the house. Take a listen to this.
Doesn't sound like it.
Loop it a few times.
We tried to, with everything, we tried to understand what's being said, and this one we couldn't understand.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. No, that's not Anna.
You want to see another one? Or?
Yes, please.
We can always go back.
I'm just flabbergasted.
Okay, this one.
This is pretty self-explanatory, Grant. I just let her hear it and see her thoughts on it.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Do you want to hear that again?
Yes, please.
See if you can make out what it's trying to say.
Let's see if they don't want us.
Brian, what'd you say about getting her a tissue?
That's not it. It's not that we don't want them.
It might be a little more comforting for you.
Okay.
You're gonna hear a bang or two, and then you're gonna hear something at the end, okay? Was that Anna?
I don't know. I'd have to hear it again.
Okay.
That's not Anna. No, that's not Anna.
It sounds happy to me.
Yeah, because Anna doesn't ask to come in. She just
Comes in.
She's not that polite. Hopefully she'll become that polite.
Well, I definitely have to say that, you know, your home seems to have legitimate paranormal activity.
The team analysed the data, and although the cameras and heat sensors found nothing, the digital recorders picked up those strange EVPs. The team concluded that Brenda's home seems to have very strong paranormal activity. But what do you think? Is this proof of the paranormal, or just an elaborate TV hoax? Supermarket Ghost. In January 2020, a strange piece of CCTV footage emerged. It was captured at Bawtry Hill Supermarket in the community of Irving in Scotland. One of the shop employees can be seen stocking the drinks section when she moves forward and steps on a crate to reach the higher shelf. When this happens, at first it looks like a prank, and perhaps the girl deliberately kicked the crate before attempting to step on it. But we've studied the footage, and it does appear the crate moves on its own. Now some believe maybe her foot briefly brushes up against the crate and causes it to move away. The store later posted an explanation on Facebook, saying that they knew who was responsible. It was their resident ghost named Stacy, who took issue with her flirting with her man. Fortunately, they said the woman was not injured in the accident, aside from some general soreness from the fall. Not much else is known about Stacy the ghost, but if any of you know anything, we would love to hear in the comments. Great-grandmother returns to soothe great-grandson as he sleeps. Kerry Waterworth from Lancashire, UK, got the shock of her life when she saw what she thought was a spider on the camera in her son's room. She rushed upstairs to shoo it away. Kerry thoroughly searched the room, rubbing her hands all around the walls and all around the camera, but found no trace of an insect. After watching the footage again, Kerry became convinced that what she had seen was not a spider, but the ghost of her son's 90-year-old great-grandmother, Peggy. The footage does appear to show a spectral arm stroking 5-year-old Ellis's leg, tummy, and the top of his head. Or at least it looks that way. Take a look. Kerry claims that after she went back downstairs, the orb appeared again and seemed to manifest its shape from circular to linear. Peggy, who died in 2016, was particularly close to Ellis, who is autistic, and she always worried about him. It makes sense that she would want to comfort him, as he often becomes upset by any disruption in routine, and he rarely sleeps for long periods in one go. Kerry claimed that she wasn't scared by what she saw, but was intrigued, claiming she got a calming sense from the apparition. She said, "I do believe in ghosts, but I'm always skeptical on other ghost videos, so seeing it for myself has truly made me believe even more." Some who viewed the clip believe it was just dust or some other object passing the lens. But for Kerry, it's nice to think it was Ellis's great-grandmother returning in spirit to look over her son. What's your thoughts? Lamb and Lion Ghost. This next footage looks a bit too good to be true, but we thought we would show it anyway. It was allegedly caught on CCTV at the Lamb and Lion pub in York, UK in October 2019. It appeared to capture the apparition of a girl in a dress walking behind a waitress as she sets up tables. Take a look. Assistant manager of the pub, Lee Smith, who spotted the apparition while reviewing security footage, insists the footage is unedited, and he was as shocked as anyone to see it. He claims he was also in the area at the time the waitress was setting up the tables, but neither of them saw or heard anything untoward, and were both spooked when they saw the footage. The pub dates back to the 1700s, and around that time the building was ravaged by fire and partially rebuilt. Although some of the original building still remains, it's not known if anyone was killed in the fire. York is also known to be one of the most haunted places in the UK, and a city with a dark past and history full of tales. Of course, some skeptics believe it's a trick of the light, a cobweb dangling near the camera, or a clever editing job. What's your thoughts? Tik Tok user who filmed ghosts lurking behind him. In the strange times we are living in at the moment, many people have taken to TikTok to amuse themselves and others, and dancer Ruben, known as Rubik's Cube, is no exception and regularly posts funny videos of his dance moves. However, in one of his uploads, he got more than he bargained for when viewers pointed out that a creepy figure was lurking on the stairs in the background. This video has now gone viral and racked up over 3 million views on TikTok. Ruben later uploaded a slowed down version of the video that clearly shows something lurking on the stairs, despite the dancer claiming he was home alone at the time and has no pets. Terrified TikTok fans urged Ruben to call the police after they spotted the figure, feeling there was an intruder in his house. But Ruben claims he only became aware of the apparition after other users pointed it out to him. Since the video went viral, Ruben has uploaded several updates, and in one he claimed it's not the first time he has experienced paranormal activity.
Hey guys, so kind of a big update. So this is kind of a video for the people who think it's staged or the people that don't believe that I've had paranormal experiences in this house before. So in about 2012 or 2013, we had just had renovations done on our house. I made this video. It was probably about a 5-minute long video of me just touring my house to show my grandparents who were living away at the time. I recorded it and sent it, and then nothing really became of it. In 2015, I was going through some old files on my computer and I came across the video. I noticed there was something strange about it, so I took it and I uploaded it to YouTube to show my friends, and I think one of my friends maybe posted it on Reddit or something, but it didn't get any attention, you know? And this is what the house looks like today. We did renovate again. My Instagram and YouTube are both linked in my bio. You can go watch the video. I uploaded the video in 2015.
It's worth pointing out that the house is located next to 2 graveyards. It seems most of Ruben's TikTok is now taken up with rebuttals about the original video, and even includes a Q&A and a tour of his basement where he claims a strange symbol appeared on the ground in 2011. Many viewers suggested it was associated with witchcraft, although Ruben believes it is not demonic, and has been told it's a Celtic symbol. Now we can't say whether this is all a ruse to get views, or whether the original video is the real thing. What's your thoughts? The Ghost of Agatha. Outsold only by the Bible and Shakespeare, Dame Agatha Mary Clarissa Christie is the best-selling novelist of all time. She is best known for her detective novels, particularly those revolving around fictional detectives Hercule Poirot and Miss Marple, as well as the world's longest-running play, The Mousetrap. Christie was born in the seaside town of Torquay in the UK and the town has long celebrated her success and connection to the area. And staff members at one of Torquay's museums are convinced the building is haunted by the lady herself. The museum is home to the UK's only collection dedicated to the world-famous crime writer, and houses a number of her books as well as unique relics from her childhood. However, the building seems to be plagued by paranormal activity, and it's not uncommon for books to fly off the shelves in the adjoining bookshop, and in the museum itself, often startling visitors as they walk past, and every time a book flies off the shelf, it's always one of Agatha Christie's. Both staff and visitors have witnessed the activity, and on one occasion it was captured on CCTV in the gift shop. Take a look. So is it possible the great author is haunting the building? After all, she lived most of her life in the area, or is there a more plausible explanation? What do you think? Russian poltergeist. This is a relatively recent case, occurring in February 2018, and there is little information to be found about it, but here's what we know. Police were summoned to the small village of Marikaza in the Tomsk region of Russia, after receiving reports from a family of unexplained activity taking place within their house. The couple and their 15-year-old son claimed that furniture, books and kitchenware had moved about the residence of its own accord, with a knife becoming embedded in a wall after flying across the room. When the police arrived, they found the house in a state of disarray, and the family explained that they had endured these inexplicable events for the last 48 hours. While officers inspected the property, they also observed poltergeist-like activity. A closet collapsed next to one of them, and they saw books move unaided from a shelf, and witnessed a log fly out of a room. In their official report, the officers stated that they had felt the power of something that they could not explain rationally, and called upon the local church to assist. A priest was sent to perform a blessing in the hope that it would calm the restless spirit that was plaguing the house. A spokesman for the local Orthodox Church gave the following statement. The police report concisely and accurately reflects what happened in the house. Yesterday we received phone calls from the police and a family living in Marikaza. A priest was sent to talk to the family and pray. He also witnessed all the things described in the report. When the priest arrived, the so-called poltergeist calmed down a bit, but then the phenomenon continued. We decided to look after this family and to put in all our effort not to allow such things to happen in their home. Nothing more seems to have been reported on this incident so far, but if you know any further details, we'd love to hear them. Capitol Theatre in Salt Lake City. The events that reportedly occurred at the Capitol Theatre in Salt Lake City are particularly fascinating, as they were experienced by not one but 3 officers. In August 2006, Officer Dave Murphy was tasked with ensuring the security of the Capitol Theatre. On his first shift, he was met by his training officer, Morgan Matthews. Murphy, familiarising himself with the theatre, took a security check around the building alone, but while he was inspecting the rehearsal rooms downstairs, he heard the door to the men's bathroom slam shut. Startled, he called up to Matthews to check the security cameras, but nothing appeared on the screen. Matthews raced downstairs to join his colleague, and both men had drawn their guns, braced for an intruder, but there was no one to be found. Murphy admitted to Matthews that he had too experienced strange occurrences while patrolling solo. Lights that he had previously turned off came on again, slamming of doors, whispering voices, and an unexplained smell of smoke emanating from the basement area. He also sensed someone was watching him, leaving him filled with an overwhelming sense of dread. The spooked duo decided to call in one of Murphy's friends, a guy called Greg Gittens, who had experience with paranormal events. As soon as Gittens entered the seating area of the theatre, He told Murphy and Matthews that he knew the theatre was haunted, as he could see numerous figures standing around. As the three men walked down the basement area, Gitton sensed the temperature had increased, and he could smell burning. Once again, there was the sound of a slamming door. The trio went to investigate, and upon nearing the door, the handle began to twist and rattle furiously. The last straw for Matthews came when the theatre had a new infrared security camera installed, allowing anyone in the surveillance room to view the auditorium in the dark. On duty alone, Matthews saw movement in the theatre via the new camera. Peering closer at the screen, he observed a figure sitting in a chair as if watching a performance. This shape then bolted across the room, and Matthews claims its face appeared to be contorted in a roar. He walked out that night and refused to ever return. Shortly after, Officer Murphy also quit after hearing the eerie sound of a piano playing, as well as other unexplained phenomena. A third officer was brought in. His name was Josh Thomas, and on his first night, Officer Murphy decided to phone in and check on his replacement. He found Thomas confused, as he reported that the elevator seemed to be moving floor to floor without being requested. Murphy drove over, and the two proceeded to check the building. At one point, Thomas heard whispering voices behind him, and assumed that it was Murphy messing around, and muttered to the officer to stop it. However, Murphy wasn't behind him, and was in fact searching some distance away from him. They continued to search when Thomas suddenly caught a glimpse of a figure with dark, deep eye sockets flit past him. Though Murphy didn't see the apparition, he too has seen ghostly forms move about the building in the past, and both men decided to vacate the area. Murphy decided to investigate the strange events that were taking place, and an ex-employee supplied him with some useful information pertaining to the theatre's history. The Capitol Theatre was built in 1913 in the place of an opera house, which had burnt to the ground on July 4th, 1890. The theatre was originally built for vaudeville performances, before movies started being screened there in the 1920s. Once more, a blaze broke out on the premises in 1949, strangely enough, again on July 4th. 600 people were evacuated, but one 17-year-old usher named Richard Duffin, who had been working at the theatre for just a few weeks, didn't make it out. He died of smoke inhalation as he attempted to put out the fire, which had started in the basement, and for which the cause has never been determined. It's thought that Richard is the restless spirit that roams the Capitol, and who continues to haunt the theatre to this day, as attested by a variety of staff that work there. The possession of Don Decker. The case surrounding Don Decker occurred in February 1983, and 9 eyewitnesses, including 2 patrolmen and a warden, have spoken about what they saw. In Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, Don was serving a sentence for receiving stolen goods, when he received news that his grandfather, a man that had physically abused him as a child, had died. Don, secretly glad that his tormentor could no longer harm him, wished to attend the funeral and was given a weekend pass to do so. He was permitted to stay with his friends Bob and Janine. It was on arriving Bob and Janine's house after the service that Don's behaviour and what occurred around him began to manifest. When washing his hands in the upstairs bathroom, Don started to experience an odd sensation. He felt a chill and later explained that it was as though all the air had been sucked out of the room. Disturbingly, he claims to have seen the face of a man at the window before being attacked by an unseen entity, which left his arm scratched and bleeding. Shaken, he returned downstairs to eat supper with his hosts. The household later noticed that the atmosphere had become cold before realising that water was seeping down the walls. Assuming there was a leak in the pipes, the couple called their landlord Ron. Upon arriving, Ron assured them that there were no pipes in the area the water seemed to be emanating from, and after checking the property for any source of the leak, the water was continuing to flow, but it was now coming up through the floor too. A confused and frightened Bob called the police, and patrolman Richard Walbert was sent to investigate. After an apprehensive Walbert entered the residence, he was soon drenched by the water that was dripping from the ceiling, and he witnessed the liquid defy gravity as a large droplet moved horizontally through the air. Soon the group were joined by Officer John Barjan, who was similarly baffled by what he saw. and claimed that it was enough to make his hair stand up on end. Don, who by this time had entered a trance-like state, was gently ushered out of the house, and the group went over the road to a restaurant owned by a lady named Pam. However, as Don sat down at the table, water started to fall in the eatery too. Noticing Don's strange behaviour, Pam grabbed a crucifix kept near the register and pressed it to Don's skin. Don reacted in a startling fashion, and it was clear to them all that it had burned his skin. The group left abruptly, with the water ceasing to fall as soon as they had departed. On returning to Bob and Janine's house, things got stranger. After being reprimanded by Janine, who thought that Don was pulling some sort of prank, Don, in full view of the others present, levitated off the ground. This occurred again the next day. This time it was witnessed by Officer Walbert and Lieutenant John Rundle. Rundle later gave testimony to the incident, claiming that all of a sudden Don lifted up off the ground and he flew across the room with the force as though a bus had hit him. There were 3 claw marks on the side of his neck which drew blood. I have no answer for it whatsoever, and I just draw a blank, even today. It came time for Don to return to prison, but upon entering his cell, water once again started to saturate his surroundings, flying in all directions. Don realised that he could control the rain and told his guard as such. He responded, jokingly, that if he could, then he should attempt to make it rain in the warden's room. The guard then went to find the warden, a man named Dave Keenhold, and was alarmed to see that he had a wet shirt. The two went to see Don in his cell, by which point Don's cellmate had become frightened and was begging for help. Dave brought the prison chaplain in immediately to perform an exorcism, and although the water was pouring down the cell, allegedly the Bible remained dry, and eventually Don's demeanour changed and the water subsided. Don has since said he believes that he was possessed by the malevolent spirit of his grandfather, who had chosen to abuse him one last time, and that since the exorcism there had been no reoccurrence of the frightening events. The police officers involved have all stood by what they witnessed, and have said that there is still no rational explanation for what happened. The Clarenville UFO sighting. In the early hours of the 26th of October 1978, the police in Clarenville, Newfoundland received a call from a member of the public regarding their observation of a UFO. James Blackwood, a Royal Canadian Mounted Police Constable, was sent to investigate. Blackwood was met by the individual who had reported the sighting, Chester Lethbridge, along with his wife and a few other curious Clarenville residents, who had clustered to look at the object. Upon observation by the naked eye, Blackwood thought it was merely a jet, but after Mr. Lethbridge passed the officer his binoculars, he saw it didn't resemble any aircraft he had ever seen. A disconcerted Blackwood requested that the station send over a high-powered telescope that was used for surveillance operations in order to get a better look at the object. With the telescope in place, the constable observed that it appeared to be about 2,000 to 3,000 feet in the air and was lit from underneath. There were blue lights pulsating intensely on either side, and an alternately flashing red and white light at the top of the aircraft. It was a metallic, cigar-shaped object with a pyramid-shaped protrusion at the rear, and no visible wings or windows. The craft also produced no audible sign of an engine or rotors, and seemed comparable in size to a Boeing 737. At this point, the craft seemed to be stationary, and Blackwood decided to attempt contacting it using a high-beam light on his vehicle. The craft responded by flawlessly mirroring the flashes. After staying a total of 90 minutes, the UFO took leave of the area, leaving Constable Blackwood and the other eyewitnesses somewhat perplexed. After reporting what he had witnessed to his senior officers, the police commission made a video recording of Blackwood's testimony, citing him as a credible witness to a potentially historical event in Newfoundland's history. Now retired, Constable Blackwood stands by his version of the events and still cannot explain what he saw. However, this was not the last UFO sighting in the area, as sightings of unfamiliar aircraft have been witnessed in 2010 and 2016, with the latter bearing a striking resemblance to the object described in the 1978 incident. This has led the area being now renowned as a UFO hotspot, with all the sightings remaining unexplained to this day. The Viacas case. The alleged possession and death of Estefany Gutierrez and the subsequent strange events that occurred at her family's Madrid home may be familiar to you. That's because a 2017 film, Veronica, was partially based on the case. It's also the only instance of Spanish police filing an official report claiming paranormal activity to be the root cause of the event that they investigated and witnessed for themselves. On November the 19th, 1992, police received a call from the frightened Gutierrez family in the early hours of the morning, who claimed they were being terrorized in their home by unseen forces, a situation which they had endured since the unexplained death of their 18-year-old daughter, Estefania, a year before. 5 officers, including Inspector Jose Nagiri, arrived at the home, anticipating they would discover a straightforward breaking and entry situation. But as family members who had fled outside to meet the officers explained, this was not the case. They told the officers that they heard unexplained noises, appliances would turn on and off by themselves, and that they heard talking and felt a presence when entering the bathroom. A myriad of other eerie events had also taken place, such as a photo of Estefania catching fire without burning the frame that housed it. While searching the home, the police soon experienced the strange phenomena for themselves. Inspector Nagiri gave the following statement when interviewed. "We heard a terrible scream behind us, which came from a small balcony. I quickly opened the door and ran out to see if I could see anything, but there was nothing. No fallen stones, nothing. It was 2:30 in the morning, and the noise was dreadful. When I first entered the room, I noticed they had a large wooden crucifix on the wall, and hanging off it was a smaller pearly crucifix, like the one children get at their first Holy Communions. There was also a poster, but a few moments later, the crucifix had been turned upside down. The little crucifix was on the floor, and the poster and the door had 3 or 4 deep scratches in them, as if someone had clawed through the poster and deep into the door." Bewildered, the helpless police left, agitated by what had occurred, and unable to assist the family, who eventually moved. After this, no further mysterious activity befell the family. The Vallecas case has gathered some notoriety, even before the release of Veronica. Mediums visiting the home, with some claiming the spirit of Estefany and her grandfather were haunting the family. It is also said that her mysterious death occurred due to her becoming possessed after using an Ouija board with friends at school. The group were caught using the spirit board by a teacher who tore the board up and smashed the glass that was being used as a planchette. Some of those present are reported as saying that a mist escaped from the glass and was inhaled by Estefany. Her behaviour changed over the following months, as she suffered fits and reported seeing shadowy figures following her around the house. Despite her family seeking medical advice, her condition deteriorated, and she died whilst in hospital. It's been suggested that she was possessed by the spirit of her grandfather, whose embittered relationship with his family led to him swearing that he would harm his family after his death. One paranormal investigation at the home made an EVP recording, on which a voice can be deciphered as saying "beware of grandfather." This resulted in the notion that 2 entities were present in the family's home, the malevolent presence of the grandfather and the benign spirit of Estefany, attempting to warn and protect her family. However, in September 2018, 2 of Estefany's brothers, Ricardo and Max, gave an interview to a Spanish newspaper, claiming that the poltergeist activity witnessed by the police was orchestrated by their mother. She had told Ricardo to throw the stone from the balcony that had so alarmed Inspector Nagiri, and that she had fabricated the events described to the police. The brothers also ascertained that there was no mystery surrounding their sister's death. She had suffered from epilepsy, and sadly died after suffering a severe seizure. Ricardo and Max assert that they gave this interview in a desire to divulge the truth about their beloved sister, not for any financial gain. They reveal that the publicity that derived from their mother's deception resulted in them being bullied by society. Despite this revelation, many still believe this case bears all the markings of a paranormal activity, including neighbours and police officers, some of whom still swear that aspects of the case cannot rationally be explained. Creepy feet. The Myrtles Plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana, is touted as one of America's most haunted homes. It's rumoured to be built on an old Indian burial ground, and it's claimed that at least 10 murders have occurred in the house. so it's no surprise that it's also home to 12 resident ghosts. Nowadays, it's a bed and breakfast complex that offers guests a chance to experience the paranormal atmosphere for themselves, and most of the well-known ghost hunting teams have visited here. So when Brandon and Taryn Hunt booked an overnight stay at the house, they were hoping for some paranormal activity, and decided to film some of their stay in the hope of capturing something on camera. However, when they filmed the clip we are going to show you, they didn't notice the 3 pairs of feet walking from the stairs into the main hallway. Take a look. The pair only noticed the spooky walkers when they looked back at the footage. Those who have viewed the clip are divided on what it might be, with some believing it's fake. However, Brandon claims it's genuine footage taken straight from his phone, and given the history of the place, we're inclined to believe him. What do you think? Mum spots son's ghost on kitchen CCTV after figure triggers camera sensor. Jennifer Hodge from Atlanta, Georgia was watching TV in bed with her daughter Lauren when she received a notification on her phone, triggered by the home security camera. It read, "Your entryway camera saw someone," and when mother and daughter viewed the image, they saw a transparent bearded male figure in the kitchen. Take a look. Now, it is creepy enough to receive a notification like this, but what freaked them out was the image looked just like their son and brother Robbie, who died aged 22, 2 years earlier from a drug overdose. After receiving the notification, the 2 women rushed into the kitchen but found no evidence of a break-in or anyone being in the house. Rather than being scared of the apparition, Jennifer and Lauren have found comfort in believing it was Robbie visiting to let them know he is happy in heaven. Plain ghost. In November 2016, Francisco Hernandez was finishing his night shift as a security guard at Mexico City Airport when he heard a strange noise coming from one of the empty planes. So as is protocol, he went to investigate, but as he shone his torchlight down the dark aisles of the aircraft, this happened.
Verga. ¿Qué fue eso? No mames.
The shadowy figure peering around the corner left Francisco in shock. But at first, he wasn't sure what he was seeing, and thought it might be a trick of the light, but when it moves, he runs for his life. Francisco managed to record the incident so he could play it back and check that he wasn't imagining it. This is not the first time strange things have been reported at Mexico City Airport. In the past, staff have been left shaken after repeated sightings of a ghost girl lurking around the place. And it's possible this eerie figure is the same spirit. What do you think? The ghost of Mrs. Hopkinson. This next footage was released in 2016, and at the time, paranormal investigators were convinced it was the real deal. The creepy footage was caught on CCTV from inside a vintage clothing store in Nottingham, UK. The store first opened in 1880 and was originally a family-run industrial merchant called H. Hopkins Limited. And although the shop is still called Hopkinson, the family link is long gone. Or is it? When staff viewed CCTV footage, they were shocked to see a transparent figure wandering around the rails of clothing. Take a look. After reviewing the footage, staff at the shop are convinced the apparition is the ghost of the long-dead former shopkeeper's wife, Mrs. Hopkinson. Customers of the shop have long been convinced the shop is haunted, and now it seems they may be right. What do you think? Ghost Stalks Drinker. The Dolphin Pub in Littlehampton, England dates back to 1735 and has the reputation as being one of the most haunted buildings in the UK. The ghosts at the pub include a former cook who was murdered by her abusive uncle, who also haunts the place. The spectre of a man in an RAF uniform, the ghost of a woman in white, and a mischievous spirit who throws 20p coins at the customers. Guests have also been spooked while staying in one of the upstairs bedrooms, and more than one has fled, vowing never to return. In fact, one of the rooms is so haunted, it has now been shut off to guests, as it's believed to be haunted by a ghost child, whose portrait is preserved on a photographic plate discovered in the pub. Her name is Dolly, which incidentally is the nickname for the pub. Dolly is alleged to have been one of the 14 children of the former landlord who owned the pub 100 years ago, who unfortunately died of diphtheria in the old nursery. The grave of the little girl is located nearby. Her real name was Ada Constance Parrish, but inscribed above her tombstone is Little Dolly. In 2016, a punter was enjoying a drink in the upstairs lounge of the pub when he felt something brush past him. Unable to figure out what it was, he asked the landlady to check her CCTV, and this is what showed up. Initial thoughts were it was a dog, but when the landlady looked over the footage, she noticed a glowing white shape floating behind the man. At first it was thought it was lights from a band that was performing that evening, but this was quickly dismissed. Some have claimed the footage is fake, but the landlord insists it is genuine, and she does not have the technical ability to superimpose the image onto the tape. What are your thoughts? Dan Ball and the Creeper. We've talked about urban explorer Dan Ball in a few videos, and while he is not a channel that focuses on the creepy or paranormal, he has had a few videos that are just that. The last time we showed one of his videos was when a commenter pointed out a shadow figure that seemed to be watching him from a distance down a dark hallway, and this upcoming video seems to be a very similar event. Dan was exploring an abandoned children's asylum, and all seemed to be going normal as he captured the eerie beauty of the decay that had taken over the asylum. However, while he was recording, the batteries in his camera seemed to explode, causing Dan to become startled, but that doesn't hold up what happened next. Take a look. Did you see it? Dan certainly didn't seem to. When he panned his camera to the hallway, the door that had been left cracked open shows a shadow of what looks like a person move away from it. It's very quickly, but it definitely didn't come from Dan. It doesn't stop there, as later in the video, as he is making his way through the rest of the building, eagle-eye viewers spotted this. You probably missed it, as we did at first seeing the video. Pay close attention to the doorknob hole in the door with the emergency sign on it. When Dan enters the room, the hole is black. As he moves further in, the hole is then bright with light, as if someone were peeking through the hole spying on Dan, and then moved away from the door. There are also several reasons in the video that would give credit to the idea that someone was living there, as you see old clothes, pill bottles from current pharmacies, and certain areas that seem to have been made as walkways from a person. We're not exactly sure what to make of this, but in our opinion, they were not alone in that asylum that day, and if someone was living there and watching them, it makes it extremely unsettling, as we do not know what that person's intentions could have been. What do you think? The Boy in the Attic. In January of 2014, a video was uploaded to YouTube which shows a couple clearly panicking and distressed about something that seems to be coming from their attic. As the man goes to investigate the source of the noise, nothing can be seen. Granted, the entire attic is dark and there is no light, with the exception of the small light from the camera itself. Other than that, the entire room is pitch black. There comes a point midway through the video in which the camera seems to malfunction and glitch, which causes the audio to become somewhat distorted. The rest of the video seems rather frantic and a bit confusing, but that is until the man goes to head back out to the attic and gives the camera to his partner, and then this happens. Take a look.
Peraí, eu ajudo a cheira. O que é que tu viste? Olha, mas fecha isso, fecha. Fecha isso, mas não viste alguma coisa? O que é que tem acontecido? Pá, vamos chamar a polícia. Isto não é normal, pá, eu ando a ouvir isto há dias.
It certainly scared us when we first saw it, as we were not expecting that to happen, and assumed more sounds would have been made, possibly from another part of the house. But when that ghostly child seemed to lunge at the man and then go back into the darkness with no reaction from the man nor his partner, really makes this clip all the more creepier. We of course cannot say if this video is 100% real, as the child's ghostly figure bears strong resemblance to ghostly videos we have seen on YouTube before, so perhaps someone edited this video and added that part in. Whichever the case, it doesn't make the video any less scary. What do you think? Is this footage real, or was this just an edited fake? The Upset Doll. We've talked about haunted dolls on this channel before, and no matter how many scary videos we watch, haunted dolls always seem to hit harder with the scares. It could be because we associate them with a part of our childhood, and the innocence of that may possibly feel threatened when you see one of your most beloved toys as a child become haunted and possibly desire to cause you physical or mental harm, much like clowns. This next video is no exception, and we can honestly say that it's one of the creepiest videos we've seen in a long time, because if this were to be a hoax, we have no idea how they managed to pull it off. The backstory is the YouTube channel The G-Team Paranormal Investigators had in a prior video went to a location where there were supposed haunted dolls, and after doing an investigation, the team lead Patty decided to take several of the dolls back home with her to study them more. She conducted a second investigation with cameras and EMF readers, and Patty's very own haunted doll that she had featured in several of her videos before. During the session, the team captures several bizarre things. Take a look.
It's me. The doll.
Holy
Wow. Wow. Which one of you is coming through? Tell me which one you are.
Apart from the creepy voices that the reader is picking up, something else is going on that nobody seems to notice at first. Pay close attention to the doll in the red hood. The doll's box slowly moving and turning in the direction of Patty as she is asking questions is definitely enough to send chills down your spine. But that is not the scariest thing to happen on this evening, as the entire team seems to get shocked to their core. Take a look.
I'm not taking her with me when I move, so if any of you are interested in that doll, please let me know, because I don't want to keep her, but I'd like her to go to a good home. I mean, if there's somebody out there that's interested. I don't... Did that...
Oh my god, that
fucking thing just move?
Oh my god.
Oh my god, are you fucking kidding me?
Her freaking face just moved towards you.
Oh my god, Heather.
Like that legitly just moved.
Oh
Did you
my
see
god.
that?
Clay, did you see that shit?
When you said you're not taking her with you, what
Oh my
the
god.
was that?
I don't know, I just
I
heard
just
that.
heard a girl's voice.
Are you serious? That wasn't one of you?
No!
The doll seemed to respond almost instantly when Patty talks about getting rid of the doll. The way the doll turns her head right at Patty's direction, and for it to lock onto her, is by far one of the creepiest doll videos we've seen. So what do you think? Is this real? And if so, how scary would you rate this? Ghostly apparition on security camera. When you set up a security system in your house or apartment, it's meant to be a sense of safety or peace of mind, knowing cameras will be watching the exterior and interior of your house while you're away or sleeping can be a comfortable feeling. However, When you do find something recorded by the security camera, the sense of safety can quickly go away. It can make you feel trapped inside your own home, away from the threat that was seen within mere feet from your house. This is exactly what the Hernandez family felt when they captured very frightening footage of what appears to be a ghostly figure running across the sidewalk and right across the family's driveway. Take a look.
Good afternoon. A Clovis family's dinner was interrupted last night by an unexpected guest, one they don't think is of this world. News 13's Allison Martinez has the video and the story from Clovis.
A creepy, unusual sight.
As soon as I saw it, that my hair stood up, because I've never seen anything like that before.
The Hernandez family saw something they can't explain, captured by their home security cameras in Clovis.
My husband happened to look over right when I guess the image came up, and I originally didn't see it. My husband did, and he's the one that was like, was that a person? And then started, saying no, that couldn't have been, and then panicked and ran over.
This is what they saw during dinner last night. It looks like a person in an otherworldly form. Their explanation? It's a ghost.
And this one is definitely brighter. You can see it 100%, and you can see the movement of either arms or legs going with the body as it goes by.
Notice how in the news report, the anchor talked about the ghost seeming to appear out of nowhere. And after looking back at it, that definitely seems to be true, as the ghost doesn't seem to be blocked by the view of the house, and rather seems to materialize out of nowhere. There are numerous explanations as to what could have caused this, but one thing we wanted to put out was that nobody seems to be talking about is that one of the cars in the family's driveway seems to be a police car with a light bar on the roof and what looks like law enforcement decals on the side of the doors. If that is the case, and the husband of the Hernandez family is in law enforcement, then we highly doubt he would go about faking this footage, with his career possibly in jeopardy if he were to fake the video. That's just our thoughts on it, and again, we cannot say for certain if that is actually a police officer's vehicle, and whether it does belong to the Hernandez family. But what do you think of the footage? The House of Jinn. In February of 2009, YouTuber Ehab Kasmaha is well known for having some of the absolute creepiest content on YouTube. Many of his videos focus around him exploring abandoned areas or houses, searching for any type of paranormal activity. In this following video, it seems he found exactly what he was searching for. As he began searching, he quickly realizes something evil is going on in the old house, and he claims that it's a jinn that is behind the disturbances. As Ehab makes his way throughout the house, you can see the doors slamming in rooms he just went into several times. The panic in his voice sounds real, and he begins praying several times in the video. Take a look.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم 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 تعال بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يما بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
This is some creepy content, but it doesn't stop there. As Ehab continues filming, he seems to start acting even more frantic, and quickly starts turning back and forth, looking around corners and searching in rooms quickly, as if he is looking for someone that is following him. Ehab finally gets his answer to what is following him, much to his horror. Take a look.
هربت لا الصراحة هربت وخفت. إخوان أنا على جبل وهذا البيت آخر الجبل. هربت وخفت وتعبت ودخت. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هربت وخفت. أنا هربت وخفت. بسم الله. لا هذا الباب سكر. فيش شبكة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. هيو والله هيو والله وحياة الله هيو. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات.
His reaction to seeing a person right behind him in the mirror is enough to send anyone fleeing in the area, which I'm shocked he didn't do and instead continued filming. The way the man is directly behind his shoulder, practically breathing on him, is truly horrifying. And although this could very easily be faked, it is certainly terrifying. So what do you think of the footage? Ehab's reaction to seeing a person right behind him in the mirror is enough to send anyone fleeing the area, which I'm shocked he didn't do and instead continued filming. The way the man is directly behind his shoulder, practically breathing on him, is truly horrifying, and we are glad Ehab made it out safely. 7 Gables Ghost Boy. This first image was taken at the historic house of the 7 Gables Mansion in Salem, Massachusetts, a house built in 1668 and once the home of author Nathaniel Hawthorne's cousin, Susanna Ingersoll. Hawthorne's visits to the house gave him the inspiration for his famous novel, The House of the 7 Gables. Nowadays the home is a museum that receives many visitors each year. It also has a reputation as being haunted. In 2013, visitor Lisa B. snapped a photo of the house and noticed the ghostly image of a boy in the shrubbery peering over the wooden fence. Take a look. What's even more remarkable about this image is that after doing some research on the house and Hawthorne's connection to it, she discovered one of his lesser known books, 20 Days with Julian and Little Bunny by Papa, a story about a time when Hawthorne was left to look after his 5-year-old son Julian for 3 weeks whilst his wife was away. She realised the portrait of little Julian on the front of the book bears a striking resemblance to the boy peering over the fence in her photo. What do you think? Coincidence, stray child, hoax, or the ghost of Julian? The electric chair ghost. It would stand to reason that if there are any areas that have a higher chance of capturing a ghost in a photo, it would be in places where people have frequently died, such as the Golden Gate Bridge or Okigahara Forest. However, one strong place you may not think about is where countless people have been forced to go to meet their end by execution in the electric chair. This is the case for this next photograph, taken by Fred Lucia. Fred was an engineer from Tennessee who was hired by the state to examine and repair the chair, and to make it more effective and humane for the criminals who face it. Fred had the chair moved to the basement of his house so he could work on it, and he took a few photographs for reference, and this is one of the images he captured. Take a look. You can make out a face in the middle of the straps on the back of the chair, as well as a hand on the right armrest. What do you think? Is this just an example of seeing something that isn't there? Is this just an example of pareidolia? Or do you think all of the death this chair has seen, as well as the massive amounts of electromagnetic forces it's been subjected to, that it may have kept one of its victims trapped there forever? Robert Ferguson. They say that family sticks with you through thick and thin, but that saying may stretch further to even after death. This is what Robert Ferguson believed after a seemingly normal picture of him was taken back in 1968. The photo you're seeing is a younger Robert giving a speech at a spiritual convention in Los Angeles. But what people quickly notice is the strange, somewhat transparent figure standing next to him. At first, people figured it was a defective camera, and for a laugh, they decided to show Robert the photo, and to their amazement, he declared the figure next to him, although blurry, was his brother Walter. The resemblance to him was uncanny, and what was an even bigger shock was that Walter had died over 20 years earlier in 1944. Many skeptics were quick to call this out in later decades as simple double exposure or a possible smudge on the lens. Many of those arguments are put to rest quickly when they learn the photo was a Polaroid, making the argument for double exposure next to impossible. So what do you think is the cause? The ghost in the loft. It is often a taboo topic to speak of ghosts in churches or other holy grounds. Many people try to associate ghosts with an evil presence or a malicious spirit, but that is not always the case. In fact, most ghosts captured on film seem to either be at peace or be looking out for a loved one. This can be said for the following photo, taken in 1982 by Chris Brackley in London's St. Botolph's Church. The figure of a woman can be seen in the upper right corner of the loft and appears to be overlooking the church. Many have speculated that this is the ghost of a former member of the church who has decided to pay a visit to a place that gave her peace in life. Perhaps that transfers to a peace in death as well. This photograph has no gory backstory, it's just a serene looking ghost taking comfort in the peace and tranquility of a church. Or so it seems. What do you think? The creepy photobomb. Many of you may have seen this one before, but it's too good to miss out. There are few things more annoying when trying to take a sincere picture than when someone decides to ruin the moment and make either a funny face in the background or rude gesture that forces someone to retake the photo. However, when a picture features a person that nobody knew was there, it makes things far scarier, as we see in the following photograph. Labelled as the grip around the internet. The picture consists of two female friends posing for a photograph together, with the city lights in the background. And as you've probably noticed, the half-seen figure of what appears to be a man grabbing one of the girls by the arm. Unnoticed by either of the girls, it's even creepier as it seems the figure is trying to pull one of the girls towards him. You can sort of make out a face, but it's the arm that makes the photo suspect, and many think it's a hoax. However, it has been analysed over the years, and nothing in this picture was supposedly tampered with or altered with in any way. That's not to say it's not a double exposure, but if it's not a ghost, it certainly looks like something sinister is going on. What's your thoughts? Shawn Wells. There are certainly small channels out there that are known for just one viral video, and in these cases, we feel their credibility is strengthened as it doesn't appear they upload simply to gain views and popularity. Such is the case with Shawn Wells' 2001. In April of 2011, a video was uploaded to the channel that featured a man who explained that he had been hearing strange noises at night coming from his closet attic. And in an attempt to get to the bottom of it, he set up a camera whilst he was sleeping to see what was going on. What he catches on camera is incredibly unsettling. Take a look. Pretty creepy. It seems unlikely that it's wind, as you would probably hear it, but you can't. It could be an animal like a squirrel or raccoon trying to lift the hatch, but that also seems unlikely. Of course, it could all just be a hoax, and the whole thing could be set up, but due to the nature of the channel and the lack of activity since the incident, we think this could possibly be the real deal. What do you think? Pasty Pickle. We all have those moments when we are certain we see something, only to take a second glance, and what we thought we saw is gone, seemingly vanishing into thin air. While this is what YouTuber Pasty Pickle was experiencing, which he explains in his videos and blog posts. He kept catching glimpses of a figure, both in one of the rooms of his house, and also when he looked up to the window of the room from outside. In this video, he shows the room, then walks through the house whilst filming, and goes outside and videos the window in question, and this is what happens.
Anyway, this window is where it happens. When you look outside, there will be times when you'll see like a figure in the room. And there'll be no one in here. And I'm going to try and demonstrate that today. Be the right circumstances or whatever. A figure can sometimes be seen outside of the window. And let's see, today... Holy shit, there's actually a figure today. I actually got it on tape, no way. Wow. Holy shit. Okay, alright. Watch, I'm gonna go open the room.
When you make the rice course now, so we have to get that.
So are you coming? You'll have to.
I will. Hold on. This is what I'm guys, this is what I was talking about. Yeah, wow.
It may be difficult to see at first, but there is clearly a silhouette in the second floor window, and he seems genuinely shocked that he has finally captured the shadowy figure. The rest of his channel is mostly music and comedy, and this video seems to be the only paranormal related one. So what do you think? Do you think it's one of his friends messing around? A hoax, or is genuinely paranormal activity? Joseph Chancellor. YouTuber Joseph Chancellor uploaded a series of videos over the course of a year, documenting an alleged ghost haunting in his apartment. At the time, he was very active on social media and kept his subscribers and followers up to date with his paranormal activity, and he gained a significant following. Although Joseph himself didn't seem too impressed about the possibility that his home might be haunted, his first upload gained a huge number of views, and it showed Joseph panning around his home, showing viewers he was alone. He then sets up his camera before going to bed to see if it captures anything. Take a look.
What the fuck was that? The hell? Hold on, guys. The hell was that shit? Oh, shit, let's not do that. Y'all see, y'all thought this was a bunch of shit, man. The hell?
Now, I know many of you will be thinking this is set up, and on first viewing, we thought the same, and were wondering why he didn't check behind the door that opened, or why he didn't examine the room where the lights flickered on and off. But then after rewatching it, if you look closely, you will see the room with the lights had no shadows being cast anywhere. Another thing is that there was only one spot that had light switches for that room, and it was right on the wall as soon as you entered the room. The guitar plucking is harder to explain, but of course there could be someone else there with another guitar. The last update on the channel was that he had now moved from the apartment and had not experienced any further activity. So do you think it was a clever hoax that gained millions of views, or genuine paranormal activity? What do you think? Drew2727. This next clip was uploaded by YouTuber Drew2727 in August of 2017. It features a group of friends watching the Floyd Mayweather vs Conor McGregor fight. The uploader is panning around the room videoing the screen and his friends, when to the left there appears to be someone or something looking through the sliding glass doors. Take a look. It was only after watching the footage back that the figure was noticed. It appears to be outside the house and is exceptionally tall, possibly wearing a suit and tie. What do you make of it? BuzzFeed Unsolved. One of the most popular paranormal channels on YouTube is BuzzFeed Unsolved. It's been going strong for 5 seasons now and doesn't show any signs of stopping. It's relatively well put together, with professional and accurate history on the areas the hosts Ryan and Shane visit, and they don't usually rely on any cheap jump scares or fake footage. and seem to genuinely have a passion for anything paranormal. In one of their very first videos, they travelled to the infamous Saley House in Kansas, alleged to be one of the most haunted houses in the US. Initially, the pair start by asking questions to the ghosts of a young girl who supposedly haunts the place. Her name is also Sally. But after not getting much of a response, they decide to try a different technique using a flashlight, and this is what happened.
According to Deborah Pickman, on the morning of October 31st, 1993, Tony went to grab a glass of orange juice in the kitchen. When he turned around, he saw a little girl in early 1900s clothing. Shortly after, he sketched what he saw for Deborah.
All right, we are in the kitchen.
Please turn the light on for us.
Please don't do it.
Demon?
Stop calling it that.
Demon.
Stop it, stop talking to it.
No, I just want to talk to the demons. We met a pal named Father Thomas. He told us not to talk to you, but I think you guys are swell.
I would do nothing to invite them to somehow show themselves or taunt them in any way.
If you like the guy staying here, turn the light on.
It's a flashlight, it rolls, it's cylindrical.
But it shouldn't roll back and forth like
what?
that. You should have never talked to it, dude. What is wrong with you?
Barnes Hospital. Situated in Cheadle, Greater Manchester, in the north of England, the imposing facade of Barnes Hospital is so atmospheric that it was deemed to be the perfect location for a zombie film. Let Sleeping Corpses Lie was made in 1974 and has since become a cult horror movie classic, now thought to be one of the most influential films of its genre. It's easy to see why, as the interior of Barnes Hospital was just what you would expect of an abandoned infirmary. It was damp, cold and dark, eerily quiet, and gave anyone who entered the uncomfortable feeling of being watched. Barnes was built in 1875 by local philanthropist Robert Barnes. Barnes wanted somewhere that the factory workers could be treated, away from the dirt, smog and squalor of industrial Manchester. Now bordered by motorway, at the time, Barnes Hospital was surrounded by beautiful countryside, making it the perfect place to recuperate in the fresh air. Later, the hospital was used to isolate tuberculosis and yellow fever patients before housing injured soldiers during World War II. There would appear to be an excess of sadness and death associated with the hospital, so it's no wonder that there are hundreds of witnesses who can testify to experiencing paranormal activity. After its closure in 1999, one witness saw a nurse dressed in 1940s uniform walking from one empty ward to another, leaning over non-existent beds and speaking gently to invisible patients. Most scary of all, though, was the fact that she was softly singing a tune as she went about her ghostly work, and the whispered melody echoed all around the empty hospital. Another witness tells of the time that he and his friends, who had wanted to get inside and explore the derelict hospital, were finally able to sneak past the security guards into an area that had been burned out by vandals. Everywhere they wandered, the rooms were covered in soot. They could hear the floor creaking, and there were muffled noises coming from the corridors in other parts of the hospital. Then the group entered a fire-blackened room that had a chair placed directly in the centre. The chair was untouched by the fire, and looked as though it was new, like it had been placed there just that day. Although they were freaked out, the boys laughed and joked, and dared one another to sit in the chair. One boy stepped forward, and was just about to sit down, when his brother, looking terrified, quickly pulled him back. It was then that the whole group saw the imprint of a person begin to appear in the soft cushioning of the chair. The group ran and never returned. Barnes Hospital is now a Grade 2 listed building, meaning that it's a building of special interest that must be preserved. Construction is underway to build luxury apartments and houses, both within and around the building. Knowing the hospital's long history of suffering, death and sorrow, I'm not sure I would be brave enough to live there. Lima State Hospital. Building began in 1908, but Lima Hospital didn't receive its first patients until 1915. Built in Ohio on a 600-acre site, the facility was designed with 14-inch walls in order to house its 1,400 criminally insane patients. Men and women who were deemed either homicidal or just too dangerous to be kept in an ordinary institution. Lima has been described as chronically haunted, with many reports of the unusually ghostly phenomenon, of doors opening and closing, locking and unlocking, lights turning off and on, and footsteps being heard after inmates have locked down for the night. In the 1970s, Lima was described by staff, inmates, and even Ohio's governor as a chamber of horrors. 31 ex-employees were charged with various crimes, being accused of various things such as electric shock treatment, prisoners being sedated, tied to cell doors and beaten, and homosexual assaults on both sexes. One of the earliest inmates at Lima was the young woman Celia Rose, known in Pleasant Valley as Celie. The 23-year-old was found guilty and deemed to be criminally insane after she poisoned her parents, David and Rebecca, and her brother Walter. Celie believed that her family was standing in the way of her romance with the neighbour's boy, Guy Berry. Sadly, the romance was all in Celie's imagination. Nevertheless, she took a box of rough-on-rats poison from the barn and added it to the family's breakfast. The poison was particularly rough on humans as well as rats, and Celie's family died in agony. Celie is one of the 502 inmates that were unfortunate enough to not have their body claimed by their loved ones after death, and were buried in the hospital cemetery on Bible Road. One witness has supposedly seen Celie walking around in between the white crosses of the graveyard, where her grave is the only one in the cemetery that bears a photograph. A staff member recalls his strange encounter with the paranormal. He was working the night shift on F Block. Sitting at his desk, he heard a woman screaming, help me," and moaning over and over again. There were no people about, only the inmate porters who were cleaning the hospital. Thinking it was an inmate playing a joke, he ran up to the second floor where the noise was coming from. He found one particular inmate wandering around in the hallway. He put him back in his room and told him to stop making the noise, but the inmate denied doing it. He said it was Mary. 2 weeks later, the officer was back on the late shift, and again he heard the moaning noises and the woman's voice shout, "Help me." This time, one of the inmate porters heard it as well, and they both went to the second floor area to investigate. Again, the inmate was out on the corridor, saying he could hear Mary. All three men stood there while the moaning and screaming woman could be heard begging for help. Could the voice have been that of the female patient who went missing for 42 days? Her body was eventually found on an abandoned ward. She had decayed so badly that her body had turned to soup, and the imprint of it had seeped into the concrete. No matter the amount of scrubbing, the stain could not be removed and is still there to this day. Lima State has been closed since 2004, but a much smaller prison is still in use on the site. Eloise Complex in Michigan. Eloise Psychiatric Hospital, just outside of Detroit, was named after the young daughter of the postmaker at the time, Eloise Dickerson Darvok. The building began its life in 1839 as a farm and poorhouse. By 1913, there were 3 sections: the mental hospital known as the D Building, the poorhouse, and the sanatorium for TB. Eloise was so big that it had 78 buildings spread out over 902 acres of land, and warranted its own postcode. There was an on-site bakery, slaughterhouse, and an amusement hall, as well as its own police and fire departments, and a creepy underground tunnel that connects most of the buildings. Although pioneering in its use of X-rays and music therapy, there was a problem with the Eloise complex. There were around 10,000 inmates, but there was only room for 8,300. This meant that at one point, there were 125 women sharing just 5 toilets, and hundreds of patients had to sleep on the floor. Eloise was also notorious for its use of electroshock therapy and the lobotomy. As the buildings were abandoned, they became a play area for the urban explorer community, and rumours still persist to this day that curious high school students who sneaked into the building looking for thrills got more than they bargained for when they came across creepy photographs of patients, and even found human body parts kept in jars. In the late 1990s, TV news reporter Paula Tudman visited the hospital with a group of paranormal investigators. The cameras were able to record a ghost watching them through the window before they even entered the hospital. The group encountered a haunted elevator as well as capturing many inexplicable light anomalies. Now there are only 5 of the original 78 buildings left at the Eloise complex, with the Detroit Paranormal Expedition still running tours of the D building. Cane Hill Asylum in Croydon. Our next hospital takes us to London, England. Cane Hill was opened in 1883 as the third Surrey pauper lunatic asylum and housed over 2,000 patients just 5 years later. David Bowie's US album cover for The Man Who Sold the World featured a drawing of Cane Hill, where Bowie's own half-brother Terry Jones became a patient. Michael Caine's half-brother David was also a patient, as well as Charlie Chaplin's mother Hannah. Many of the patients suffered from schizophrenia and were subjected to treatments such as insulin coma therapy and lobotomies. The hospital closed its doors to patients in the early 1990s, but it became a mecca for urban explorers until it was destroyed by fire in 2010. One explorer of the derelict building tells a scary tale of his night spent alone in the asylum. After the building had been abandoned, his friend Tom wanted to set up a business there, taking people on ghost walks around the building. Ironically, and much to the explorer's amusement, Tom found the place terrifying, and the explorer loved to play pranks on him. He would pretend he could hear voices or hide behind walls, and then jump out on Tom. After one too many jump scares, his friend challenged the explorer to spend a night alone in Cane Hill. Always up for a dare, the explorer agreed, and at around 6 p.m, it began to grow dark, so the explorer settled in for the night after Tom drove away grinning. All was quiet for a couple of hours when the explorer started to hear a voice say hello from somewhere in the pitch-black room. Frozen with fear, the explorer couldn't speak, and the voice repeated once again hello. Frightened out of his wits, the explorer shone his torch around the room and noticed an intercom panel on the wall opposite. Obviously it was Tom playing tricks. He was going to use the intercom to scare the people on his ghost tours, and was testing it out on the explorer first. He replied hello, and the two men began a freaky conversation. Tom pretended to be some sort of maniac, talking through the intercom. He said he had kidnapped a family and brought them to the asylum so that he could operate on them. As they were speaking, the explorer could hear a woman's voice in the background crying and begging for help. Tom began to describe what he was doing to each member of the family as he operated on them, and all the while each of them screamed in agony. The explorer was impressed with the level of detail that Tom had gone into and thought that the ghost walks would be a huge success. But when Tom started to talk about raping the corpse of the child, then the explorer told him to stop because it was too much, and people on the ghost walk wouldn't want to hear that sort of thing. After that, Tom stopped talking, and the rest of the night was spent in silence. In the morning, Tom came into the room asking if the explorer had a scary time. He replied sarcastically that he was terrified. Tom wasn't sure what he meant, so the explorer told him that although the character of the lunatic rapist was really good, he had spotted the intercom straight away, and Tom should find a way to hide it from his ghost walk customers. Confused, Tom said he didn't know what the explorer was talking about, and went over to examine the intercom close up. It was then that he pointed out that it was actually a vent that led into the next room. Overbrook Hospital in New Jersey. In the late 19th century, building began on the Essex County Hospital Centre, known locally as Overbrook, and sometimes called the Bin. This was another sprawling complex of buildings that began life as a general hospital, but was eventually used to house mental health patients, as well as those with physical disabilities. Over the years, Overbrook has seen its share of tragedy. In 1917, Cedar Grove had a particularly harsh winter, and unfortunately the heating system broke down at Overbrook. The hospital was without heat for 20 days, and despite the best efforts of the staff, 24 patients froze to death in their beds. There are stories of passing motorists being terrified as patients would hang out of their windows screaming and twisting, contorting their bodies during the full moon. During the 1970s, overcrowding was a huge problem, and staff found it difficult to keep control. In 1978, 150 patients were reported missing. One man walked away in just his pajamas and broke into a nearby home. He stole a carving knife and a hammer and then tried to abduct a woman before stealing a car. Luckily, he was later arrested. Countless urban explorers have visited the site since the closure of Overbrook in 2007. Many have described the hospital as having a heavy atmosphere and have experienced a feeling of sadness and dread as they explore the numerous wards, rooms and corridors. Some of them talk about Resuscitation Anne, a headless CPR doll. It's said that the doll is possessed by the spirits of former patients. She seems to randomly move around the hospital at will, but seems to be especially fond of turning up in the morgue, where she can be seen sitting in a chair with her head on the floor next to her. Several people have reported seeing a grey-haired nurse walking down the halls before she disappears into thin air. During their stay, more than 10,000 patients died. Perhaps one of them has returned once more in spirit to haunt the halls of Overbrook. Christina Matthews was alone in one of the corridors when she began filming with an infrared camera. She saw a shadow at the end of the hall, which looked like a person with a hunched back. The shadow ran across the hall and then back again. Bravely, Matthews walked down to take a look, but she found nothing. She says she cannot explain it, but you can take a look at the footage. Is it a ghost lost and wandering the old hospital, or just a trick of the light? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. Creepy wedding guest. Imagine just getting married, and after posting a few snaps of the day on social media, a friend points out that in one of the photos there is a strange Smeagol-looking face peering out from between your heads. Well, that's exactly what happened to Kevin and Christina Dennis from Richmond, Virginia. Take a look at this creepy, uninvited guest. After seeing the disturbing face, Christina and Kevin started asking their wedding guests if any of them had crouched behind them as a prank during the wedding photos. But only Christina's sister offered any sort of explanation, saying that she may have accidentally passed behind them. But the couple have their doubts, as the creepy face looks nothing like her, and looks more like a demon. To make matters worse, Reddit users have offered up some pretty terrifying suggestions of what the face might be, suggesting it may be the couple's unborn child, the spawn of Satan, or a sign of evil things to come. Whatever it is, it's ruined a lovely photo of the happy couple's big day. And if it was a joke, even after a year, no one has owned up to it, making the pair even more creeped out. For us, it looks like it could possibly be a trick of the light or a shadow, although we agree that it is a very sinister one. Unknown force attacks dog. This piece of footage is either an unknown entity, a dog being a dog, or a person being extremely cruel. The bizarre footage emerged on Reddit in August 2019 and divided opinions about what was going on. It was captured in the middle of the night by a home security camera and appeared to show a small dog being dragged backwards by an unknown force. Take a look. Just to reassure you, the poster has confirmed that the dog felt no ill effects from the incident, but is still uncertain what caused the dog to be pulled backwards in such a violent manner, and the thud noise is the dog hitting the bathroom door behind it. What makes it a little strange is the weird wind-like sound that can be heard just before the dog is yanked backwards. Now, it could just be the dog spotted something and moved super quick, although the poster confirmed he has never seen him move that quick before. The video has divided opinion, although the majority seem to agree the dog didn't appear to have been acting naturally, and that possibly a sinister force was responsible. What do you think? Guardian Angel. Now, this next photograph was captured in 2014 when Chris Leadbetter was visiting his dying granddad, Bob Large, in a hospital in Cheshire. Bob was terminally ill with cancer and kidney failure and was only expected to live for a few more days. Chris was due to go on holiday and thought it would be the last time he would see his granddad alive, so he decided to take one last photo of him on his mobile phone. At the time the photo was taken, Bob was being read his last rites by a vicar. Chris didn't look at the photo until a week or so later, and was shocked to see a strange woman in the background who wasn't in the room at the time, and whom he didn't recognise. Stunned by what he saw, Chris showed the rest of the family, and Bob's wife told the nursing staff about the ghostly woman. Surprisingly, they were not alarmed, and explained it was not unusual to see a long-haired blonde girl in a white gown, standing at the end of patients' beds. But what's even stranger was that Bob seemed to rally and come back from the brink of death. In fact, he felt so well that he was released from the hospital a few weeks later. After learning of the unknown woman in the snap, Bob believed she was his guardian angel and was looking out for him, and found the photograph quite comforting. People have suggested it was a reflection, but Chris said there was literally nothing for it to reflect off. There is a sad postscript to this story. We have since learned that Bob passed away peacefully on January the 15th, 2015. But it seems his guardian angel gave him one last Christmas with his family. Plasteg Ghost. Plasteg is a Jacobean country house located in Flintshire, North East Wales in the UK, and is supposed to be one of the most haunted buildings in the country. It was built in 1610 by Welsh politician Sir John Trevor, and generations of his family have lived there on and off up until 1930, when the War Office bought the house to accommodate soldiers during the Second World War. Over the years, it is also believed to have been used as a local court and a sanatorium. However, in 1986, Cornelia Bay bought the house and fully restored it before opening it to the public, and that is how it remains to this day. But with such a checkered past, it's no surprise that the place is teeming with the ghosts of its former residents, and there is said to be no fewer than 15 spirits lurking in its rooms and hallways. It's also said the ghost of Sir John Trevor's daughter, Dorothy, haunts the road that runs alongside the house. The story is that she fell in love with a local farmer's son named Lawworth, but her family disapproved, so the pair decided to elope. And in preparation for their escape, Dorothy buried her jewels near a well on the grounds. But on the night of the elopement, Dorothy ran out to the well in pitch black to retrieve her jewels, and accidentally slipped and fell down the well to her death. Her body was discovered 2 months later, however her jewels were missing. Her lover Lawworth was so distraught at her death and the threat of being accused of her murder that he hung himself, and his ghost is also believed to haunt the grounds. The well itself is also reported to be haunted, and on one occasion a gardener claimed he felt hands grabbing his shoulders, trying to pull him into the well. The spirit allegedly responsible for this is John Trevor V, who died sometime in the mid-18th century. He apparently discovered his wife was having an affair, and in his rage he killed her. Then, drunk and guilt-ridden, John Trevor drove his carriage at high speed through the grounds of Plasteg, hitting a tree and severely injuring himself. He later died a slow and agonising death from his wounds. Then there is the ghost of 16-year-old Elizabeth Trevor Roper, who died at Plasteg in 1815. It's said that 2 men had fallen for her, but she only loved one of them, so the one she refused killed the man she loved in a fit of jealousy. He then chased Elizabeth, and after a struggle, she either slipped or was pushed down the well and drowned, and that of her true love have supposedly been running through the halls of the house. Those who have visited the house have reported being touched, prodded, and even pushed by an unseen entity. The sounds of giggling, sobbing, knocking, whispering, talking, and footsteps are also regular occurrences. And another common occurrence is the sudden emotional shifts in different areas of the building. People are often overcome with sadness, anger, despair, or happiness. With all this activity, it's no surprise that ghost hunters from far and wide visit Plasteg to see if they can witness something for themselves. While in May 2019, paranormal investigator Paul Rowland believed he captured an image of the ghost of Sir John Trevor. The photograph was captured using Mr. Rowland's specialist lighting in the Regency bedroom, a room that is associated with Sir Trevor. At the time the photo was taken, Rowlands was calling for Sir Trevor to show himself. Take a look and see what you think. The ghost of Sir Trevor is reputed to be very unfriendly, and his irritable presence was felt by another ghost hunter the night the image was captured. Mr. Rowlands is adamant it's not a reflection of some sort, as they would have had to have been standing on the bed, and there was definitely no one there. On the same night, Mr. Rowland claims his audio recorder captured voices in the same room, saying the names Sarah and Roger, in a mix of male and female voices. It's not the first time Mr. Rowlands has captured paranormal entities at Plasteg. In 2007, he captured this image in the house, which he believes is of a child. It's a great story, and both those photographs are pretty creepy, but what do you make of them? Strange humanoid entity. Now this one is leaning more towards aliens and UFOs, which to some people are technically classed as paranormal, so we thought we'd include it. This photograph was sent to us by a viewer, and we have no reason to believe it's not genuine. It was taken by a night shift worker at around 3 AM at one of the world's largest open pit copper mines in Arizona. The man who photographed it saw an unexplained light source, and that is what he thought he was snapping. So he was pretty shocked when he zoomed in on the image and saw a tiny figure. Take a look. Now to us, this looks too good to be true and could just be a case of pareidolia, but there is no doubt it looks humanoid. We've been assured that the light source is not the moon or sun rising, and is completely unexplained. The viewer sent us another photograph from the same site, but on a different night, and with the other image, the light source again is unexplained. Take a look. It's worth pointing out that the place it was photographed is no stranger to unexplained events, and the Maseni copper mine has had numerous reports of unexplained lights in the sky by workers during night shifts. And as we know, Arizona has been a UFO hotspot for years, being host to the Paradise Valley UFO crash, the Travis Walton abduction, and the Phoenix Lights. So is it possible that this is a genuine extraterrestrial sighting? We'd love to hear your thoughts.